I.S.U.P.K.
We want no cowards in our camp, and our camp only men prepare to die. We want no cowards in our camp, and our camp never let their brothers fly. We want no cowards in our camp, and our camp only men prepare to die.
SHALAM, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge out of Seattle, Washington, established in 1969 in 1 West Harlem, New York. And since then, we've been bringing the truth to you so-called blacks, you so-called Hispanics, and you so-called Native Americans. Now, again, we use the term so-called because black is a color, Hispaniola is the name of an island, Native American is a term. According to archaeological, geographical, and again, most importantly, biblical facts, you make up the 12 tribes of Israel. So anytime you open up this book, so-called black man, Hispanic man, Native American man, and woman, you are actually reading about yourself, your past, your history, the law, statutes, and commandments that were given to you and you alone, future prophecy, as well as the greatest black man that ever walked this earth, the one you refer to as Jesus Christ. And yes, for those of you who are just now hearing this for the first time, Christ is the so-called black man. He is not that white boy that you picture when you think of the one that's referred to as Jesus Christ. Okay? If you ever have any questions about that, you can reach out to us, area code 206-778-1859, or you can reach out to the website, I.S.U.P.K.com. We have free online classes, Tuesday to Friday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. Tuesday is the brotherhood class, Wednesday is the law, Thursday is scriptural breakdown, Friday is the Hebrew language. We also have radio shows that come on Monday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time to 9 a.m. Let a Hebrew Speak with General Hazan and Captain Akkad, speaking on various topics that vary from what's going on in the world to your neighborhood. And of course, everything is scripturally based, meaning we touch the scriptures on everything we go into. We also have a radio show comes on at 6 p.m. Same day, Monday, 6 p.m. with Commander GEN.YAHANNA. Same format. We also have a radio show comes on Thursday evening, 9 p.m. with Captain Zariak and Officer Katazak. Same exact format. Various topics, again, touching the scriptures. So with all that said, what we're going to go into today is what most of you will be observing when you watch this video, which is Halloween. You get dressed up, you'll say, well, you may not, you know, if you're an adult, you may not, or you may. Who knows? Many adults do this also. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to send your kids out there, you're going to dress your kids up in particular kind of costumes, whatever the case may be, and then you're going to send them out there to your community, knocking on people's door, begging for candy. Because that's all you're basically doing when you're sending your kids out there to beg, to get candy. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the origin of Halloween to get an idea of where this actually comes from, and then to show you what the scriptures say about these things. Alright, so now we're going to go into the introduction of Halloween. Though Halloween has become prominent in America only within the past 2 or 3 generations, its origins are ancient. Halloween was originally called Samhain, a pagan Celtic celebration that focused on death. The heathen Celtic tribesmen who lived in the British Isles, especially Ireland and parts of Western Europe, especially France, believed that ghosts and other spirits visiting the land of the living on Samhain Eve, October 31st, so they would present our offerings to them on the night. Okay, so this is where the origin of Halloween comes from. Now we're going to go into the some of the rituals of it. All right, just to show you how wicked this particular evening or this particular ritual really is. You need to understand this. So when you're dressing your little kid up as a superhero, or you're dressing up, I don't know, men like to dress up as women, women like to dress up as whores, whatever the case may be, this is what you are actually observing. Regardless if you're aware of the history of it or aware of the origins of it, none of that matters. This is what you're observing. So now, we'll go into this. Samhain/Halloween, an ancient pagan celebration. Samhain celebrated the Celtic New Year and marked the transition from the Celts' summer goddess to the horn god of the winter solstice. A festival of the dead Celts believed that the spirits of the dead and other spirit beings, demons, were participants in the Samhain celebrations. Druid priests of the Celtic tribes who celebrated Halloween, according to the ancient Christian missionaries, human sacrifices were part of their worship. Yeah, all this goes on. All this went on this evening that you are going to observe. Praying to other gods, sacrificing humans. But it gets better. Pagan origin of familiar Halloween practices. Trick or treat families will put out food for ghosts and demons so they would not harm them. So this is why the candy is put out, or the food is put out. Because they were in fear of these demons that will come to visit on this particular night. So because of their fear, they would feed the demons. Now, this is what you're doing when you're giving candy and food to the kids that come to your door. You're feeding the demons. This is why they're dressed up that way. This is why a little kid's going to come dressed up as some kind of skeleton, or some kind of vampire, or some kind of a ghost. Alright? Or some kind of a little monster. And it doesn't matter even if the kid is dressed up in something that you think is cute or funny. It's still dressed like a demon. Alright? And this is what you're doing. You are feeding the demons based on this ritual here. Alright? Jack-o'-lanterns started out as carved images of spirit beings. Originally, a light put into a turnip or potato which had an ugly face carved into it. One purpose of jack-o'-lanterns was probably to frighten the spirits who were thought to invade the earth on Halloween night into going back to the world of the dead. So now, when you put that carved pumpkin in front of your door, you're trying to force that spirit back to where it came from. So do you understand how wicked this act is so far that you are observing? That you think in your mind, well, it's innocent and we're not doing it for that. I'm going to go into the scriptures to show you that what your thoughts are really don't matter. But you need to understand how wicked this particular evening really is. All right? Bonfires, look in the dictionary and it will reveal the origin of the word bonfire. Okay? We're going to give it to you right now. Referring to large fires containing bones. That's what a bonfire is. A large fire containing bones. Alright? So this is something that also goes on in some of your little rituals when you're you're holding bonfires for a pep rally or whatever the case may be. That comes from the burning of bones. Now let's find out what kind of bones they were burning. To help the sun survive the winter. To frighten off evil spirits, used for animals and possibly human sacrifices. So these bonfires were burnt on the bones of animals and human sacrifices. They would make the fire, they would sacrifice the animal or the human, and burn the human or the animal as well as their bones. Hence, bonfire. Alright? These are some of the rituals that go on Halloween. Bobbing for apples began as a technique of divination. In some areas, this tradition continues. That's what you're doing when you put your head in the water and you're trying to bite you an apple. Alright? Bizarre costumes. The Celts hid themselves in ghoulish disguises at Halloween so that wandering spirits would make them for one of their own and pass by without incident. And this is why people wear costumes. Because again, they're in fear of these particular spirits and demons. But it goes further. Masked villagers representing the souls of the dead also attempted to trick spirits by forming a parade and leading them to the town limits. All right. Now, also, when you study further into this, it also goes into what would go on with these masks or these costumes, because their faces will be covered up. Picture it like this, if you will. Consider the Ku Klux Klan. The reason why the Klan wears masks or covers their head in the sheets is so they can go out and commit these acts of violence against you so-called blacks, you so-called Hispanics, and you so-called Native Americans without their identity being exposed. This is no different. All right? So these people would dress up in these costumes to align themselves up with the spirits or the demons, and they would also go out and commit all kind of unlawful acts, be it rape, be it robbery, be it murder. Much like you see when you watch a movie like The Purge. No different. That's where these particular ideas come from these rituals right here. We're going to continue reading. Skeletons, skulls, and corpses, these naturally belong to Halloween as a festival celebrating death. So that's what this is. That's when you break it down to its essence, that's what Halloween is about. Death. All right? It goes further though. We're not done. You know what? We're going to stop at that point, and then we're going to go into what happens now. So that was the ritual then. Let's see how it plays out now. Remember everything that was said, all right? Violence and terror. Violence in our communities. Let me start off from the top. Violence in our communities. Violence is an annual Halloween tradition in New York City and many other communities across the country. And we know this just based on growing up in hoods. You know. And that's not just for Halloween. Any night there is a holiday, you can expect violence in our community. Because first and foremost, all these days are based on some pagan ritual, based on wickedness. All right? So that's why these things go on in our neighborhoods, in our communities. A newspaper report from recent Halloweens indicate extra police patrols are needed. Students are sometimes afraid to go to school on Halloween for fear of violence. Now, let's talk about what happens with the kids here, all right? Poison candy, razor blades and apples, etc. Keep treats in the bag until children get home. Cut and examine all fruit. Throw away all unwrapped candy. Remember that some hospitals x-ray Halloween candy for free. Now, think about this. You have to go through all these things. So when a person, you're sending your kids out to beg for some candy, some food, and then when they get their food, their candy, you have to examine it. Think about the madness in this. But again, this goes into the wickedness of this night. All right? Remember everything that we read. Halloween-related events such as Mischief Night and Devil's Night spread violence and destruction across countries. And we've all heard those terms before: Mischief Night, Devil's Night. Why do you think these particular ideas are equated to this particular evening? All right? So you have to think about this while you're dressing your little kid up and sending them out there to those streets. Or you need to think about this woman when you decide that, you know what, on Halloween, you're going to go to the Halloween party dressed like a whore. Because that's what women like to do. They like to wear something revealing more than it should and play that role. But what it is you're not playing a role, you're aligning yourself up with that spirit, which is a whore spirit. The spirit of a harlot. You're actually just aligning yourself up with that so you can become one with that. We already read that's what they do. That's what the costumes are for. So now let's go into a few scriptures, all right, to pull out why we shouldn't be doing these things. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the book of Jeremiah. We're going to go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, and we're going to read verse 2, all right? The book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, verse 2. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the ways of the heathen. Well, that's the first thing. Don't even learn their ways. So when you're practicing this particular ritual, these particular events, this evening, whatever you want to call Halloween in your mind, you have learned the way of the heathen. Now, why is it heathenistic? because it has nothing to do with the law, statutes, and commandments that we find in this Bible that were given to our people and our people alone. Anybody that is outside of the nation of Israel, meaning you so-called blacks, you so-called Hispanics, and you so-called Native Americans, if you are not coming from this particular bloodline, you are a heathen. Period, point blank. White man, Asian man, African man, Arab man. Those are the islands, the Philippines, Samoan, Hawaiian, Tongan, the Australians, the Aborigines of Australia, all heathen. We are not to learn their ways. And we've already read in the history of it where the origin stems from. Okay? So Scripture says, learn not the way of the heathen. Okay? That's the first thing. We're not to learn their ways. We're not to pick up on their rituals and follow their rituals. Now we're going to go into why we're not supposed to follow these rituals. Alright, we're going to go to the book of St. John. St. John chapter 3. Yeah, St. John chapter 3 and verse 19. The book of St. John chapter 3 verse 19. And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. Alright? So basically, and this goes back into even the putting on the costumes. Because you are hiding yourself, you're trying to conceal yourself so you can go out and commit what you want to commit. Engage in what you want to engage in. And you can cover yourself up in the idea of a Halloween. Well, it's Halloween. I'm going to do that because, you know, this is what we do on Halloween. And this goes for any holiday. Just like when y'all celebrate y'all birthday and you decide you're going to have it your way because it's your birthday. Same thing. Nothing different. All right? So the end of the scripture in verse 20, it says, least his deeds should be reproved. Because you know what? There is consequence behind these acts. From there, we're going to go to the book of Jeremiah. We'll go back into the book of Jeremiah, I should say. And we're going to go to chapter 8. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 8 and verse 12. Okay, because again, these things have to be reproved. This is the reproval, all right? Isaiah 8 and 12. Were they ashamed when they had committed abomination? Were you ashamed? No, you weren't. You went ahead and decided that you're going to go and trick or treat, or you're going to dress like some kind of a goblin or some kind of a whore and do whatever goes with that evening, the evening of Halloween, all right? Nay, they were not at all ashamed. Neither could they blush. I mean, you feel nothing at all about it. You're not ashamed. You're not embarrassed. Nothing. Therefore shall they fall among them that fall. That's why we just read mischief night, devil's night, a night of violence. That's why your kid may come home with a razor blade and an apple, or some poison candy, or little kids get snatched up. I mean, there are countless amount of things that go on Halloween. All right? That's why the scripture says, therefore shall they fall among them that fall. Because those days aren't for us. Okay? Let the heathen continue on with their heathenistic ways and let them be put to death behind it. This has nothing to do with you so-called black man, Hispanic man, Native American man and woman and child. But if you're going to go ahead and engage in their activities, you're going to fall with them that fall. In the time of their visitation, they shall be cast down, saith the Lord. Yeah, you don't know when that time will be. The Lord's going to send out that spirit to put to death everybody who's dressed like a ghost. And you just happen to dress like a ghost that year. You're going to die right with them. Put out that spirit to put to death every woman that's dressed like a whore. And you decided that night, out of all nights, you're going to dress like a whore. We'll read it from pick up in that part. In the time of their visitation, they shall be cast down. And that's going to happen. You're going to get cast down right with them. All right? So you need to consider these things. We just read the origin of Halloween and how wicked Halloween was. Now we're reading how the scriptures view, how the Lord views the observance of these days. All right? We're going to go to now. This is for those of y'all that you're going to go to church. You might go trick-or-treat at church because there are churches that do that. Imagine that. We just read the wickedness of Halloween, the origins of it. But is that going to stop y'all from going to church and trick-or-treat because you think that the church is a safe haven? I'm going to send my kids to the church. Pastor Porkchop said it's okay to do it as long as you come and do it under Christ. Well, let's see what the scriptures say. All right, we're going to go to the book of Ephesians, chapter 5 and verse 6. Let no man deceive you with vain words. The pastor's lying to you. Pastor Porkchop lied to you. We read how wicked Halloween is. We read its origins. All right? For because of these things cometh wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. Well, we just read that in the book of Jeremiah, that this was going to happen. So don't be surprised when you hear about, hopefully it's not your child. Hopefully you're wise enough to not send your child out there. But don't be surprised when you hear about some children that you know that took home the apple with the razor blade, or took home the poison candy, or was out there and got snatched up, or went through any kind of acts of violence against them, or was coming home from the church trick-or-treating, thought it was okay because the pastor said it was okay to do it in the church. Come home and get hit by a car or something. Because we just read, I'll read it from the top. Verse 6, Ephesians 5 and 6. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. You're being disobedient to the Lord. Something's going to happen. It's got to happen. All right? And then we're going to go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 5 and verse 20. Yeah, the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good. That's that pastor again, telling you it's okay. Bring them to the church. That's your mama, son, out there telling you it's okay to trick or treat and dress up. Well, the scripture said woe. Woe meaning destruction, if you don't know and understand that. Anytime you see the term woe in the Bible, it means destruction. So, woe unto them that call evil good. That's going to happen. Destruction. So I'm going to hit you with one more scripture, just because I know still in your minds, y'all sitting there thinking like, well, that may be all true. The origins of it may be like that, but that's not why we observe it. That's not in our spirit. That's not in our mind. And the Lord knows my heart. Two scriptures, matter of fact. Two scriptures. We're going to go, first we're going to go to the book of Jeremiah. For y'all that's saying the Lord knows my heart and knows that I'm not being evil. You don't know your heart, and that's the problem. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things. You don't know your heart. You don't understand your heart. And in the context, your heart is simply an allegory for your brain, your mind. Because your heart doesn't formulate thoughts, it simply pumps blood. Alright? So again, the scripture says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Okay? It's desperate to commit wicked acts. Alright? When you are not governed by these laws, statutes, and commandments according to the truth, of course your heart's going to be wicked. Of course it's going to do what feels good. That's it in the scripture. Who can know it? And that's the question. That's a question. Who can know it? So while you sit there and say, well, I know why I'm doing it, and the Lord knows why I'm doing it, the fact of the matter is the Lord does know why you're doing it. Because you're being wicked. You're being disobedient. You just don't understand that. Because the scripture said the heart is deceitful above all things. I mean, your mind's going to lie to you. Okay? You're going to sit there and make yourself believe that your reasoning, your rationale is better than the wisdom of the Lord. Okay? So you're going to dress your child up, and you're going to dress up like a whore, or the man's going to dress up like a woman, or whatever the case may be, and be out there doing all kind of madness. Because again, we just read the history of Halloween. All right? So, and this is the last one we're going to go to. Ecclesiastes 1 and 15. For all y'all that say, well, that was then and this is now. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 15. That which is crooked cannot be made straight. There is no way to change what Halloween is. It was wicked in its origin, and it is wicked in 2016. There is no way to change this. So now, consider all these things when you decide. You know what? Let me finish reading that whole scripture. Ecclesiastes 1 and 15. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. And you know how that even pertains into Halloween? Because if you let the kid do it, the kid will sit there and go trick-or-treat the whole damn night. You know why? Because that wanting can't be numbered. It can't be. The enjoying of the moment cannot be numbered. And that's what you're doing. You're trying to enjoy a moment, but you're enjoying a moment that's origin is wicked. Origin is wicked. Present is wicked. All right? So remember these things. When you decide that you're going to go out for Halloween, you're going to go to that Halloween party, you're going to send your kids out there trick-or-treating, you're going to dress up like a man, you're going to dress up like some kind of woman, you may dress up like some kind of a whore, you're going to send your kids out there dressed out like some kind of a demon, whatever the case may be. Remember everything that was brought out to you, all right, in this lesson. And don't get heartbroken, confused, confounded, dumbfounded if something happens to one of y'all. Lord willing, it doesn't. Lord willing, you adhere to the wisdom in the lesson. You adhere to the counsel that comes from the scriptures that the Lord is giving you through the men of the I.S.U.P.K. All right? So you don't go out there and act foolish. Now, with that said, if you have any questions, you reach out to us, area code 206-778-1859, or you go to the website, ISUPK.com. Any man that wants to become part of the I.S.U.P.K., get into our classes. Attend the classes for 3 months. Put on your all black, your black head wrap, your black shirt, your black boots, your black pants. Start separating yourself from the world. All right? Do that for 3 months. Become a trooper. Take on the responsibilities of a trooper. Earn your name. All right? Become an officer. After a 90-day period of being a trooper, become an officer. Start doing this work with the men of the Lord. Join our prison programs, join our food drives, join the GED programs, our drug counseling. Whatever it is that the UPK is involved in to build up our people, become part of that. For you sisters, get into our classes to 10 for 6 months. Show your discipline and your diligence, and learn how to become a new woman. During that 6 months, no man will speak to you other than to greet you. All right? After that 6 month period, you have interest in a man, or that man has interest in you, you two will start another 6 month period of courting. Again, for once in your life, learn about the man, and let the man learn about you. All right? So when you two come together, if that's what's decided, then you two understand what it is you're doing, and you are bound for life according to Christ. We don't drug our women through the mud anymore. We don't divorce our women, nor do we abuse our women. Commander GEN.YAHANNA doesn't condone any of that, because Christ, according to the scriptures, didn't condone any of that. Okay? So now, with that said, any questions, reach out to us. Area code 206-778-1859, or the website ISUPK.com. Shalom.